I remember that day very well because that day completely changed my entire life. I was invited to Konstantin's lectures. At that time, I had never seen him even once, but I had heard a lot about him. I had heard about his views, about his philosophical approach to life. I very much wanted to meet him. And when I saw him for the first time, he was sitting in the lecture hall and there were many people around him. They were listening so attentively and he spoke with such inspiration, talking about what was valuable to him, what was dear to him, about his high ideals. And I looked at him, I looked as if spellbound. I could not take my eyes off him. He was so inspired. I immediately felt that this was a man who has a purpose in life, a man with very high values. I could not look away from him. At that moment, it was as if the whole world stopped. I am looking at him, he is speaking, and I understand that time itself seems to have stopped, and I see only him. He seemed very strong to me then, very self-confident. He clearly understood what he was saying and what he wanted to convey. He was very attentive, he saw the whole audience, and once, while walking through the room, he caught my gaze, saw the way I was looking at him, and he smiled, and at that moment it was as if the sun had come out. Do you understand? It was such an incredible feeling, and that moment of the first meeting with him was simply amazing for me. It was as if my whole world turned upside down. Everything flipped, and I understood that this was what I had been searching for a very long time, what I truly needed and what was important to me. Everything about him completely sets him apart from all the other men I had known before. Because Konstantin is a very, very caring and at the same time very strong person. The men who were previously in my life were men who perhaps somewhere wanted to use me, somewhere wanted simply to feel a woman beside them and so on. I had never felt so loved as I feel next to him. And what he definitely had was a regal, almost royal confidence in himself and at the same time such openness to all people. He is so open, so I don't even know how to express it. It is as if he always gives all of himself. When he speaks, when he communicates, he gives his whole self. It is incredible. It happened the first time I approached him to ask a question, because after the lecture, a lot of people always gathered around him. Everyone asked him questions, everyone wanted to speak with him, everyone wanted his attention and to find some answers for themselves. And when I came up to ask him a question, it was at one of the lectures he was giving outdoors. He loves nature, he has always loved it, and he held that lecture outdoors in a very beautiful meadow with so many flowers. I came up to ask him a question. He looked at me very attentively, so attentively, and it felt as if he looked right inside me, as if he saw my soul. That look pierced me right through. I froze in that moment. He smiled, and that sympathy, that energy that passed directly from him, it was as if an exchange of energy happened. It was incredible. He is so sensitive, attentive, and gentle that it is impossible to describe. And at the end, when he was answering my question, he took my hand, and in that moment I felt as if an electric current ran through my arms. His palms are so warm, so large. He took my hand, and I truly felt as if some incredible energy was piercing through me. I looked at him and was overwhelmed by the stream coming from him. I realized it was not just sympathy. I realized how deeply I wanted to understand him, how deeply I wanted to connect with him and know him. He is such an extraordinary person, with such depth and strength in him, that I wanted, with all my feminine strength and energy, to unite with him. That feeling of merging is simply incredible. It is impossible not to love Konstantin because he himself as a person is pure charisma, pure energy. Perhaps at first I did not yet understand all of his ideas, but I felt such powerful energy and such immense care for everyone. Such kindness comes from him, such love and tenderness that, he may be speaking to several people. Yet it feels as if he speaks to each person individually, softly embracing everyone with his energy. He is so attentive and sensitive in this way. It is incredible. It is very difficult to describe in words. When you meet him yourself, you will understand and you will know what kind of person he truly is. And, of course, I fell in love with all of his energy, his charisma, his ideas. That is what he is made of. He is woven from all of it. It seemed like complete nonsense to me. I didn't even take it as reality. Then, when I began to look into it more closely, I felt such indignation. How is that even possible? Who is saying this to the people? People who say all this don't even know him. All those journalists, everyone who tries to claim he is bad or that he somehow negatively influences people. I was so shocked, and at first I simply wanted to understand what was going on and who could even say such things. So first there was surprise, I didn't believe it, then I was outraged, and then when I spoke with him about it and asked how he relates to all of this, he's calm, He is very calm about it, as if he is above all of it, as if it does not touch him at all, as if he is unreachable for all that dirt, and then I calmed down. And then I calmed down. His calmness immediately passed on to me, but in the beginning I felt a great deal of indignation about it, of course. No, I never had doubts because I always asked him everything. I approached him with questions, and he always answers everything very freely and openly. There is never a feeling that Konstantin is hiding something. He always speaks openly about everything. He can answer any question. What he likes most are tricky questions, when people are dissatisfied, when someone wants to provoke him or catch him in something. That is actually his favorite. I have watched many times how he answers such questions with pleasure. So I never had doubts about him because he always answered any questions, any claims addressed to him, any accusations very freely, simply, openly, and honestly. Therefore, I never had doubts about him. When my loved ones found out who I had fallen in love with, that I wanted to marry him, that I wanted to be with him always, of course my family was very surprised and didn't understand. They couldn't understand how the image that appears everywhere online and on television could be reconciled with the person they knew. Because if you know Konstantin Rudnev, you cannot think of him as a bad person. There is an image of Konstantin Rudnev in the media, on the internet, in newspapers, and it is very far from who Konstantin really is. And of course, my relatives and loved ones, knowing him, never thought anything bad about him. So I never had to justify myself to anyone for this. On the contrary, I was always happy, and I always felt, perhaps I was even proud. It always pleased me that he, so to speak, chose me, that he gave me his attention and wanted to be with me. There are many people around him, and there is no feeling that he belongs to anyone in particular. It feels as if he belongs to the whole world. He gives himself completely. He has such powerful self-devotion. The only thing I ever wanted was to help him in some way, because I saw how selflessly he tries to help people, explain things to them, show them a path, guide them, help them out of difficult life situations. He is ready to do this always, at any time of day or night, any time of year, in any weather. He gives himself completely. If someone needs his help, it does not matter what he is doing. He will always respond, always come to help, wherever that person may be, in whatever country they are, whether he knows them or not. Do you understand? Sometimes people simply write to him asking a king for help. That is, sometimes it even happens that people turn to him for help. That is, they simply write, there was a woman in a very difficult situation, financially, and she could not leave the country she was in. This was several years ago. And when I saw how he resolved that situation, he was like, okay, what's going on? Who is it? This woman, whom he did not even know, had simply written to him. But he became so involved in her problem that he found out where she was, contacted her, helped her financially to leave, helped her with tickets. He becomes deeply involved in people's problems, even strangers. He helped her get out of such hardship, out of such a difficult life situation. A woman he did not know at all, not at all. She wrote to him only once, but he understood that a person needed help and he gave everything. He did not rest for several days until he pulled her out of the hell she was in. Do you understand? When you know all this about him, you cannot think he is a bad person. And what is there to justify? You can only be proud that you are beside him.